switch sides with everybody.
So we're not looking. Okay.
So we'll flip it a little bit.
Okay.
All right, drivers for today.
Probably won't hit me quite this time. Give you an idea. All right, so let's start talking about driver. I know everybody wants to hit the ball far, everybody wants to hit it straight. So, but there's a couple things that really need to happen in order for us to make sure we do that consistently. And I know I stress this with putting, but I'll stress it again when it comes to hitting our woods and our driver especially. Setup. Let's make sure we have a consistent setup. Again, just like last week, we have a little bit of knee flex. Our feet are going to be a little wider than shoulders width apart. And I want to make sure that the ball placement in my stance is way up in front. And the reason that is the further back I play this driver in my stance, the more difficult it's going to be for me to square up the club face. So if everybody can see this here, so here's up front, you can see that the driver head is nice and square to my target, square down where I'm aiming. The further back I move, you notice what happens to the club head. It ends up wide open. So we need to make sure we play it a little further up in our stance. And mainly it's because the longer the club, the longer it takes to square up at impact. So once we get in our setup position, ball way up in front of our stance, we can have it inside our front left foot or maybe even lined up with our front left big toe. Now let's talk about the height the ball is teed up at. We want to make sure that we don't have the ball teed up very low. Part of the reason we play that driver so far up in our stance, it's such a long club, is we need to make sure that we're actually swinging up on the driver. It's the only club in our bag we actually don't hit down on. So we want to make sure with that ball placement way up in the front of our stance that as we're making our swing, we're actually catching it on the upswing. Now, how do we make sure we do that properly? This may be one of the only times I actually tell you when you get up and set up over the golf ball and you go to make impact on your downswing, your spine angle should have a little bit of tilt in it. That'll help us swing up on the golf ball.
So look at Nick's hand position there where he's talking about. In the chipping, where we talked about trying to keep the hands ahead of it as well, it's a pretty similar action what he's just doing right there. If you can keep it that way as long as possible, it's going to help you hit it farther as well.
Now, some of the most common things I see happen when we hit drivers is I see a breakdown of our left arm. We take the club back and our arm goes immediately to here. And then what's our immediate reaction is to
Chop down on it.
chop down on it. Well, the longer we can keep this left arm straight, the larger our swing arc is, the easier it's going to be for us to get into this position here. So having said that, why doesn't everybody take a couple swings? We'll come around individually. Let's make sure our setup is right. We'll make sure we're actually swinging up on the golf ball.
Perfect.
Might have to adjust some heights of how we tee the golf ball up a little bit here.
Okay, my driver's going good.
Oh, driver's
That was
easy,
good.
isn't it?
That was really good.